Time now for everybody's favorite guessing game, What's My Line? Brought to you by Remington Rand, makers of the world's #1 electric shaver, the Remington. Now, let's all play What's My Line?
And now, let's meet our award-winning What's My Line panel. First, the popular columnist whose voice of Broadway appears in the New York Journal-American and papers coast to coast, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
And on my left this evening is a gentleman who... No, I think I'll start another way. If you've been reading the bestseller list recently, you know that a book appears on those lists called Treadmill to Oblivion. It's a very entertaining book, and the gentleman who wrote it is here tonight, Mr. Fred Allen.
Thank you, Dorothy. And on my left, ladies and gentlemen, a young lady who misplaced her Scrabble set this afternoon and who may be at a loss for words tonight, Miss Arlene Francis.
That's true, with or without Scrabble. On my left, a chap, let me say he is our supposedly sophisticated and blasé Random House publisher, panelist, who has come back from the West raving and starry-eyed about 16-year-old girls at the Elgin Academy. Are they that wonderful, Bennett, sir?
You'd make a fine headmistress, Arlene. Well, 2 years ago, a lot of you folks who are watching this show remember that we had Ed Murrow as a mystery guest on this program. And he and our moderator told you about a memorial they were raising funds for in memory of all the war correspondents who had lost their lives in pursuit of their duty. Well, they've gotten all the money together, and tomorrow night that memorial is going to be dedicated in a monster all-star television show called Dateline. And I guess that's why our moderator looks so happy tonight. Here he is, John Charles Daly.
Thank you, Bennett. Actually, it's a good reason to be happy. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What's My Line. Once again tonight, we're up to our old tricks. We have some interesting occupations which are attached to some very nice people. Which nice people we trust will give the panel a bit of trouble. And I think they're going to do it. We'll also have a famous guest challenger before the panel a bit later on. And now it's time for these experts to meet the first challenger whose job has to be spotted. So would you sign in, please, sir? C. Nash. Right, sir? Now, I don't want to press you too hard, but we got to know what one of those C's stands for anyway. Which one do you want to give us?
Charles.
Charles? Charles C. Nash, is it?
C. Charles.
C. Charles. C. Charles Nash. Fine. Where are you from, Mr. Nash?
Glendale, California.
Well, you have come a long way. I must say it's nice of you to come so far.
Had a nice flight.
Well, I feel something like a cad making you walk at all now, but you've got to walk over here so the panel can see a better look. Get a better look at you. Excuse me.
Of Ogden Nash, Mr. Nash?
Not quite. Nope.
Automobile Nash, Mr. Nash?
No.
Congratulations, Mr. Nash. First Nash I've ever seen come from California to New York.
All right, Mr. Nash, if you will, over here now, please, and sit down next to me. And as you may know, the panel gets one free guess as to what your line may be, and we'll give those free guesses a whirl with Miss Kilgallen.
I think that he's an additional dialogue writer for Westerns.
Mr. Allen.
Coming from California, I think Mr. Nash is Liberace's dentist.
Miss Francis.
I think he operates the best motel in Glendale.
Mr. Cerf.
He's from Burbank.
Well, the audience is jumping tonight with the members of the Society of American Chemical Engineers, and I suspect that Mr. Nash is one of them sneaked up here behind the curtains and has come out to be a challenger.
Ah, Bennett, you're a terror. And you're wrong, too. Well, now, nobody has it right, so we'll let our viewers at home have a further look at Mr. Mr. C. Charles Nash from California, and at the same time we'll tell them what his line is. But the panel's going to have to dig. All right. Mr. Nash, you know how we score this opus. Every time you give a no answer legitimately and properly, we flip a card. 10 of these flips, and you have won the game. You all set?
Fine.
Mr. Nash is salaried. Let's begin the general questioning with Arlene Francis.
Well, Mr. Nash, you're nicely bronzed. Is that California, or do you work outdoors? Do you work outdoors,
No.
Mr. Nash?
Yes,
No, thank
one
you,
down,
sir.
9 to go, Mr. Seth.
Well, Mr. Nash, living in Glendale, I wonder if you have anything to do with one of the factories that's located there
Near.
One of the
that
factories...
makes something. You're no product involved in what you do?
Oh, yes.
There is a product.
Yes.
Can I sneak out of it that way, John?
We'll let you
You
sneak
did.
out of it as long as you realize you're sneaking out of it. That's the main thing.
Is the product that you make made in California?
Yes.
Is it a useful product?
Yes.
Is it used indiscriminately by both sexes?
Yes.
It is. Would it be found in people's homes?
Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm. We'd like to have a small conference. Actually, this is for my benefit, not Mr. Nash's. I want to get a technicality straightened out now. It has no particular reference to this question. Actually, I forgot what day of the week it is. I'll be back with you in a minute.
John is verbose tonight.
What do you mean tonight?
I just picked out one night.
Well,
Try to talk him
anytime
into
you're
the
ready,
show
Bennett,
tomorrow.
we can sit around here all night
Well,
if
I'm
you
waiting
want
for
to.
you, John.
Waiting for me? I wasn't doing anything.
Well, that's what we're complaining about.
Mr. Nash, for this product, is there any ingredient used that is either grown or made in the state of California?
I would think we could safely say that in this product there is something grown or made in the state of California.
Has any part of this product ever been alive?
You mean going way back?
Oh, not too far back.
Let's see. You mean perambulating alive sort of thing, huh?
Well, ambulating, if not
Ambulating.
perambulating.
Well, thanks, Bennett. That
No.
makes it 2 down to go. Now, I think we'd have to knock you out on the ambulating department. All right? That's 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
All right. Has it ever been alive standing still?
Miss Kilgallen wanted to know if it had ever been alive standing still.
No.
That's fine. 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Allen.
Is it something, did Bennett establish that it's something that is grown in California?
We answered with some reluctance affirmatively to the question, was it grown or made in California?
Can you distill that for me, John? May I say, is it something that's grown in California? Well, he should know what he does.
That's right, Mr. Nash. No, it is not grown. 4 down and 6 to go, Miss Francis.
It's just made in California.
Yes.
So many people are. Is it... Is this useful, this product?
Yes.
Is it... Is it something one could hold in one's hand?
Yes, you can.
You know, within a basic term of reference, you can hold it in your hand. I'm going to say this, you're so far away from it, all of you, I don't want to discourage you.
We
You've
are
got one
far
more
away
minute.
from it? We
Yeah.
ought to get on another field, you mean?
No, I don't mean a thing, actually. Just wanted to tell you I was going to give you another minute.
Is it ever used in studio work?
Yes.
It's used in motion picture studios?
Yes.
Is it necessary to be used in motion picture studios?
Oh, yes.
Has it any moving parts?
Yes.
Now, can I ask a question? What?
Are there several different products that you're involved with? Instead of it just being one thing, is there a variety?
Before we take you too far off the road, Arlene, the product we have accepted as a general product, and we are now in this identification area willing to identify a general product with which Mr. Nash may have a specific affiliation.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, and you can hold it in your hand, even if you wouldn't want to necessarily. All right, should we get off that whole bit? Do you think it'd be a good idea? We get into something else. Do you have anything to do, Mr. Nash, with training anything or anybody?
No.
Do you work in an advisory capacity of any kind with this?
There is a product. Well, is there anything to do with the sight or sound equipment in a studio?
Yes.
Is it one of the machines that is responsible for either recording the sound or putting the picture onto the screen?
No.
No. And that, I think, that's the matter. Actually, I don't... This was a very tricky one, panel. Don't feel bad about it. It's a very fascinating occupation, but I don't think you'd have gotten it if we'd given ourselves 3 days.
He's a smog maker.
What did you say?
He's a smog maker.
No, he's much more famous than that, Fred. Mr. Nash is the voice of Donald Duck at the Walt Disney Studio. And Bennett Cerf has met Mr. Nash, but we were counting on his not recognizing him, and he didn't do it.
Mr. Nash.
Those rather fabulous studios, the
No.
Walt Disney Studios,
I'm
20,000
sorry, but
each.
he's got to just... We must have at least time for him to say something to us like Donald Duck. Come on.
Say just one thing. will you?
It's a great pleasure to meet you.
Mr. Nash is one of that great combination of talents whose latest effort, I believe, is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. The Walt Disney Studios. That's right.
Wonderful picture, too.
Oh, it's a wonderful picture, that I'm sure of. And Mr. Nash, you've been a wonderful guest, and thanks very much for being our guest. All right, panel. Let's see what you can do with another challenger. Now, would you sign in, please, sir? Bud Klein. Right, sir? That Bud a nickname, sir?
Yes.
What is your first name?
George.
George, where are you from, Mr. Klein?
Akron, Ohio.
Akron, Ohio. Well, let's not rubber it in. Now, while I go get over that terrible pun, and I get to do this sort of thing because Bennett Cerf is one of my friends, you see, and we sit around at night. Will you go down there and let Bennett Cerf and those other 3 good characters on the panel get a closer look at you, please?
Klein, are those muscles on the level?
No, I mean, I'm faking the whole thing.
Let me try them then.
They're terrific.
No, they're on the level, Bennett. He just wasn't giving you the treatment. See?
All right, Mr. Klein, over here, if you will, please, sir, and sit down next to me. And the panel starts off by getting 1 free guess as to what your line may be, and we'll begin those free guesses with Miss Kilgallen.
Well, John, you're so tricky. He looks as though he ought to be a weightlifter, so I suppose he does fancy work.
Mr. Allen.
I think from Akron, Mr. Klein is a vice president in charge of slow leaks at the Goodyear Tire Company.
Miss Francis.
I think he plays pro football.
Mr. Cerf.
Now, with those muscles, I think Mr. Klein is a man who's just split Goodyear stock 2 for 1.
No, I'm afraid nobody has it right. We'll let our viewers have a further look at Bud Klein of Akron, Ohio, and at the same time, we'll tell them what his line is. But the panel's going to have to dig. All right, Mr. Klein, you know how we score this operation? Boing, boing. Mr. Klein is self-employed. With that, we'll begin the general questioning with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Well, Mr. Klein, do people ever watch you when you do what you're doing?
Yes.
And are they either instructed or amused or entertained by what you do?
Yes.
Now, I just have to decide which. Do both men and women watch you?
Yes.
Do they ever watch you together?
Yes.
Do you move around in your work?
Yes.
Do you have anything in your hand when you're moving around?
Yes.
Would these people be in the nature of an audience?
No.
Small question.
Might be small groups.
Talk him into it, John.
I would say this, Dorothy. Mr. Klein's inclined to agree with me that it is not entirely untoward that some people might stand by and they would be considered an audience in a way, you know.
But you are primarily something other than an entertainer, is that correct? Do you ever do what you do to people who would rather not have you do it?
No, I don't think so, Dorothy. 1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Allen.
Do you do whatever it is that you... I tell you, Mr. Klein, you're only going to get $50 from John. We'll give you $60 to tell us what to do. Do you have any regular hours when you do whatever you do?
No.
You just do it whenever you feel like it, huh?
Well, now, wait a minute. Let's have a small conference.
Well, I can't remember who John was. I can't remember who he was.
I see. I think, Fred, you will understand that in the specific character of Mr. Klein's work, that we might be right in saying that they could not be considered regular hours because of the requirements laid down for the performance thereof. 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Fred.
Do you have anything to do with anything that might be considered a game?
No.
3 down and 7 to go, Mr.
Mr. Klein, does that splendid, magnificent physique of yours play some part in the work that you do?
No.
4 down and 6 to go, and I'm going to give you another 30 seconds because I don't think you're close to this one either tonight.
Do you ever work out of doors?
Yes.
Do you usually work out of doors?
Yes.
Do you do anything that requires any agility?
Yes.
Do you do work in connection with a building, with the outside of a building?
Work in connection with the outside of the building?
Mm-hmm. Any kind of a building. Oh, I have another question if you don't like that.
Well, you know, you might say so in a way, yeah.
Do you wear something other than an ordinary business suit in your work?
Yes.
Might it be called some type of costume?
No, actually, Miss Dorothy, I don't think we can call it a costume. And just because of time, I got to flip this, although it isn't quite fair to you because you have a good many questions left. Mr. Klein is a sewer cleaner. I'm afraid his good looks and his muscles kind of just get you all off on the wrong road.
I think he gets stuck in a manhole. Did you ever get stuck in
Well, they got them all enlarged out in Akron just for his benefit.
We must start going into some sewers,
It must be more fun.
Well, Mr. Klein, thanks a lot. I hope you had a lot of fun. We certainly did. It's nice to have had you in What's My Line. In just a moment, we'll meet tonight. Our program, the appearance of our mystery celebrity. My good friends and colleagues in the panel have blindfolds for all of this. Are those blindfolds all in place, panel?
Yes, sir.
Good. Will you come in, mystery challenger, and sign in, please? Panel, as you know, in the case of our mystery challenger, we dispense with preliminaries, get right down to the general questioning, which we will begin with Mr. Fred Allen.
It's a foolish move you've made, John. I gather from the audience's reaction that you are very well known by sight to practically everybody. Is that true?
Yes.
I gather that you are not Sophie Tucker by any chance. Tell me, are you identified with the entertainment world?
Yes.
Are you currently employed? I'm looking for another job. I haven't guessed. I went in the wrong theater tonight. I guessed the wrong theater coming in here. But are you better known, are you identified with motion pictures? Let me put it that way.
Yes.
With motion pictures.
Yes.
Are you associated with dramatic work in the motion picture field?
No.
Well, if you do comedy, occasionally it comes out sad. You have to...
I'll leave that up to our guest if he would like to amend the answer and give you a qualified yes.
Well, then I'm through. I was wrong, huh?
Yes.
Are we to believe that our mystery guest has never had a serious moment? He's always been a comic, is that it? And never a bride. Do you do something apart from performing? Do you sing, ever?
Yes.
Would you be considered the kind of a comic that gets the girl?
Yes.
Is your hair thinning a little?
Yes.
I'll take a wild guess at this. Are you Bing Crosby? What happened?
No.
Two down and 8 to go, Mr. Cerf.
If my hunch is correct, Arlene couldn't have been more wrong if she had tried.
And I did.
Are you famous as well for movie work? Are you equally famous for radio and television appearances?
Yes.
You mean on exactly equal equations?
No, not equal equations. I would say principally in... Now, I know who it is, John. Don't throw me off. Is your name associated as much with Bing Crosby as with possibly Faith and Charity? Ow! Ow!
Yes.
And did you recently have as a guest on your television show Maurice Chevalier?
Yes.
And are you Bob Hope?
Yes.
I got to tell you something. Actually, Bob just told me something, and I think it's going to fascinate you all and also everybody at home. The Bing Crosby sign-in. You think he's ever done it before?
No. The what?
Where did you do it before?
I did it in England on What's My Line.
Isn't that
Really?
something?
I broke it in there.
That was your out of town, wasn't it?
The travelingest man you ever saw. Actually, Bennett mentioned earlier that we've got this Dateline program tomorrow night, which dedicates the memorial we've spent 3 years building. The man has come to New York, basically, to be with us on our big program on Dateline. Travelingest guy's written a book, you know, Have Tux, Will Travel, and he's always doing it. And
Is there anybody here who hasn't written a book?
Fred Allen over there wrote one.
Dorothy.
Miss Dorothy?
I would have mentioned the book, but it's a Simon & Schuster publication.
All right, Bennett. Simon & Schuster published it. They know who did it. Have Tux and Will Travel. Mr. Robert, the Right Honorable Robert Hope, it's good to have you with us.
Can't tell you how happy I am to finally have the chance to appear. I watch this show all the time, you know. And
Nice, man.
you had to bring me east for this little correspondence show so I could make it.
I'm
good
happy
to
to
have
be
you
with
here.
us, Rob.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you,
very
John.
much.
Right.
Good to see you, Pat. And I might say now that he's gone, he's not only going to appear on our program, but he helped us a good deal in the production of it. And I think we owe him a great debt of gratitude, and we're very fond of him. We'll be back in just a moment.
I don't like being...
May lose a resident because Dorothy has got to go back to cover the Shepherd case in Cleveland tomorrow. So once again, it's good night and good reporting, Dorothy.
Thank you, John. Good night, Fred.
Good night, Dorothy. Good night, Arlene.
Good night, Fred. Good night, Bennett.
You might be interested to know that while Dorothy's in Cleveland, her husband's show, Plain and Fancy, opens in New Haven tomorrow night. Good luck.
Thank you, Rick.
Good night, John.
Good night, Bennett. Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for being with us on What's My Line?
Transportation for Mr. Nash was arranged through United Airlines, the nation's